Welcome to Flipping Houses for Rookies, the only podcast that shows you how to take back your financial freedom and live the American dream by becoming a real estate investor. Without the banks, without the big wigs, and without the realtor's nonsense. This isn't about selling you coaching or some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about opening your eyes to the possibilities so you can make real chunks of dough, buy your life back, and become a free American. With over 400 episodes aired, we're delivering everything you need to know to find deals, talk to sellers, structure deals, and win big. It's time to take action, change your mindset, and claim what's yours. Real estate is the key to your freedom, and we're here to show you the way. Subscribe now and catch our latest episodes on YouTube at Flipping Houses for Rookies, because your financial freedom starts today. Now, here are your hosts, Bill and Pete.
Okay, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter. How are you today?
I'm good. How you, Bill?
That's a good thing.
You good?
Yeah, I think so. I've got a few things going on over here, but we're just going to plug through this. So we're on episode number 428. And the name of today's podcast, or the title of today's podcast is Advanced Creative Real Estate Techniques Revealed.
All right.
Interesting,
advanced.
huh? So here is the description. Are you tired of paying the real estate game? I'm going to do that again. I have attention on my internet keeps going in and out, so I just need to stop thinking about that and just do my job. So Here we go. Here's the description. Are you tired of playing the real estate game with the old rules, not getting desired results, even needing another source of income to keep your real estate business alive? Or would you prefer to break some rules, ethically of course, and blow the lid off your real estate income and finally get what you want? And here's the kicker. You are not going to just hear theory today, only because there is a very small underground world crushing it in today's economy, which means today you are, am I still there?
Yep.
Okay, good. Which means today, well, I'm not doing a very good job here at all. I lost my spot. Which means today you're going to rub elbows with some heavyweights, real movers and shakers that will reveal some confessions on how they make deals by not doing the norm or defying the usual. And it is not the tricks or tips that fill their pockets. It is more of the simple mindset and consistent habits that attract their fortunes. So the question you need to ask yourself today is, are you ready to join the big leagues? Listen now so you can catapult your results and income without breaking a sweat. So here we go. Ta-da.
You know, when you hear something like that, a few parts stand out. You know what stood out for me? Break the rules and big league.
Good.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I'm not too good at following the rules because I don't think some of the rules make any sense. I apologize for that. And sometimes things work out really good when you find the right path around the rules and the stupid rules, at least, not the real ones.
Right. Well, rules are good for the herd. Because there's a lot of them and they need to know what to do.
Oh, that's why they don't go running amok.
Yeah, if you don't want to be part of the herd, then you don't really need the rules.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the herd's in the box. I can't find the box.
Yeah. All right, so let's handle some of our housekeeping type things. So normally we record this podcast on Thursday mornings, 9:30 a.m. and we live stream it, which is not going to be happening too much longer. It's coming to an end. I haven't decided when that is because I'm in the background trying to get some software things handled so we can start going over to our new privately held platform, which is probably going to be less listeners for me, but it's going to be better listeners because I'm going to give more content and do more things when we get there. Matter of fact, I was just working on today the new intro and the new exit for those podcasts. I'm excited about that. Yeah, it's going to be a patriotic theme.
No way.
You know, like with the national anthem playing in the background.
No way.
So that's what I want. Yeah. So, anyways, for as of now, we record this, live stream it on Facebook and YouTube on 2 channels, which is Creative REI Reply and Flipping Houses for Rookies, and we're also on LinkedIn. Until further notice, that's what we will be doing. If you want to go to those platforms at 9:30 on a Thursday morning, you can go there to listen to us. And if you have questions, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com or creativereireply.com and go to the support ticket, and we will answer your questions through our support tickets. We check those all the time. And make sure you like us and subscribe to us wherever you're listening to us. All right, enough of that. All right, Pete, the last few episodes, I've been slowly revealing or alluding to some fantastic breakthroughs for the rookie real estate entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, good. And I ask our listener yet again this question. If something is not commonly known by 98% of America, can we agree it's a secret?
Mm. Yep.
Obviously it is, right?
Mm.
The interesting thing is that most believe a secret is a hidden thing and not meant to be known to others. Right, so when you think of a secret, what do you think of?
Well, the idea of secret is trying not to have it be revealed. I mean, I'm sure there's things around that we all wish we knew, and it's just not very common. I don't think it's being held away from us on purpose. We just don't know it. So, you think there's real estate things that are being held away from us? Because sometimes when there's money involved, people won't let other guys in. They want that edge. I know something you don't know, and they don't share it.
Right. So the truth be told, in creative real estate, our definition of a secret is something that is not properly understood and acts like a mystery.
That makes sense.
So in our creative real estate podcast, in other words, in on Bill's planet, as we call it, in our world where we do things, right? If you don't have something properly understood, it acts like a mystery.
Yeah.
AKA creative real estate, which is really a misnomer. Excuse me. It's really a misnomer because it's really creative financing.
True. That's right.
It's not really creative real estate. We push that because, the word investing implies that you have money or you have something that you want to bring to the market or bring it someplace and get the highest rate of return you can for it. Mm-hmm. So with money, you want to invest, $100 to make $10,000 in the shortest amount of time, right? Or like if you wanted to trade in your car, right? You want to get a better car, right? Mm. Or investing. If you want to train your mind or educate yourself, the idea is you could work easier or work less and get more. Yep. Usually freedom. Like if the idea with creative real estate is if you can learn it, right, and understand it, then that means that you can instead of working 48 hours a week, you can work 8 hours a week and get the same amount or more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So investing has an implication, right?
Yep.
But you and I realize after dealing with so many rookies that most don't have money or have enough money. I mean, you never have enough money, right? If you keep expanding, right? So we're not really investors. What we are is entrepreneurs, because what an entrepreneur does is an entrepreneur has the resources. I mean, think about it. A business owner is skilled at putting things together, right? Like, first of all, finding a buyer or finding somebody that wants their product, and then going through the sales process or the order process, however it may be, so you can collect the money. And then in the back, you're going to be back there putting all your resources together. You're going to have employees and managers and, vendors that sell you things and shipping, and like all these things are put together, payrolls and, buildings and heat and, electricity and vehicles and, office supplies and computers and blah, blah, blah. It just goes on and on and on. Well, the entrepreneur is the one that puts all those things there so that something can flow through the business, right? As if it was like like you had, like divisions standing left to right, like division 1 through 6 or 1 through 10 or 1 through 7 or whatever, this is the marketing division, and this is the sales division, and this is the production division, and this, like that kind of stuff. And the entrepreneur goes and does all that. A little bit of a rant there, but if you think about it that way, like these, like they're columns, like those columns out front of what would you call those? Like out in front of the old houses, there's those big columns out there.
Well, like the kind they had in ancient times in Rome and Greece.
Yeah.
Those columns. Yeah.
So if you were to just vision one of those columns, right, and then there are 7 of them, and the product, or even, you know what it is? Here, do it this way. Think of like a long hallway, and you got to walk through one room to get to the next room, to get to the next room, to get to the next room, and the last room before you exit, you get your little package of whatever you made while you were walking through all the rooms, right?
Yeah, and something's happening in each space.
Each room, something changes, right? Like, kind of like, Anyways, I think you get the point. Right. So here's my point in elaborating on this is that if you don't properly understand how something works in one of those rooms, will you move to the next room?
Well, if something goes wrong, it won't work into the next room. It won't make it because it's not going to be a good product to do the next step, like a conveyor belt.
Right.
Like car conveyor belt, you have to do each step, and everything has to fit. Or else
that's a better example. That's a much better example. Yeah, than my rooms. Yeah, that's a perfect example, like an assembly line for an automobile, like the Henry Ford assembly line. That's a much better example, Peter. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. So if you have the car going down and anyway, so the point is that a secret could be something that you don't know how to do or you don't understand, and it's a mystery to you. Like, if I could just figure out how to get leads, I know I could sell them. Right. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And then I give people leads, and then they get into my system, and now all of a sudden they're like, how do you do this? And how do you do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to learn each step, right?
Right. And if it was a bridge, or a ladder, right? And, like you got 10 rungs in the ladder, right? Yep. Or 10 steps. One thing that I have noticed is that once you understand step 1, because you kind of went through it and you've experienced it, and now it's part of you, right? Which I'm going to talk about this in the next podcast, but it's part of you, and it's like an innate thing. It's just like, you don't think about it. You just respond because it's just part of you, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go up to rung 2 and then rung 3, and you're on rung 3 and you're still trying to figure out rung 3. You have no clue what's in store for you on rung 4. You can't think that way. Your mind is confused and clouded on 3 and can't see or confront rung 4.
Right.
Right? And this is a huge thing, right?
Yep.
So, moving on, see, it's a belief by most realtors, which tell their buyers this, that creative real estate is not a valid thing and not recognized as the oldest method of real estate transactions on planet Earth.
I don't think they really believe that.
All right, tell me.
I don't think they believe that. I think they don't understand it. I think they sometimes, when they find out about it, and actually, I know realtors that are investors too, or creative finance, and why not? They like it. But the other ones who don't know about it, all they can do is, hey, if you don't know about something, all you can do is criticize it. Really, seriously. If you don't know about it, you can't do it, why don't you just criticize it? That way it justifies your existence. So they know better than that, most of them. And if they don't know about it, you know what? Don't say anything. Take a cue from the Disney movie. Thumper, if you don't know, if you can't say something good, just be quiet.
So all I'm saying is that they call creative real estate the non-conventional or the alternative. In other words, their solution is the only solution. It's the first solution. They're king of the mountain. If you can't do it their way, then you're lesser of a buyer or lesser of a seller, and go over there because that's for the annoying people.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of think that I'm talking about with realtors, because that's how they talk. You know?
Yep.
But the truth of the matter is, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead. Finish that one.
If you want to be your own fact checker, right, on this, just ask this question. How did we buy and sell real estate before the realtor came on board? I mean, they say the first realtor came on board like in 1908. I find that only in very sporadic places.
Yeah.
All I know is that the Realtor Association in 1949 had to generate a code of ethics because realtors were considered charlatans, which is like a snake oil person, right? Mm-hmm. And that they weren't trusted. So they had to make a code of ethics, and 2 months later they formed the National Association for Realtors in 1949. Now here it is 2024, so we'll say 75 years later, and they're being sued for racketeering. Yep. So has the chameleon really changed? Or is it just changing its color, right? I mean, I'm not talking about people, not realtors or brokers or anything like that. I'm talking about the system itself, the way the transactions happen, right? So if you look at the question, like, what did we do before the realtor was around? You'll soon realize a huge secret in America today is you don't need a realtor to do transactions in real estate. You don't need to do that. Right? I can't believe. So I came from the car business. I owned a gas station for 27 years, and I'm a unique character, and unique is not the key word there. Character is the key word. Okay, I'm a unique character, and the more I learn about myself and the older I get, the more I realize, yes, I am a character. And character to me just means that I don't need other people's agreement to do things. You know, I don't think about what others think about me. You know, now I'm not rude or anything. It's like I don't do that, but I don't need to have praise. I don't need to have people tell me I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
I am very strict on my own results. I'm strict on what I think about. I qualify my abilities to make sure I leverage them to get what I want. And it's not a selfish thing because I'm a very group-oriented person. You know, I mean, you can attest to that. You know, I'm usually thinking about the group before I'm thinking about me. You know, it's just how I am. And I tell you that because of, not to brag about myself, but just to make the point that sometimes when you're like that, you see things that other people don't see. Right? When you step outside of the norm or the usual, or as Dan Kennedy puts it all the time, the herd. You know, Dan Kennedy wrote a newsletter one time, I read it years ago, and it said, if you want to be successful, just do the exact opposite of what the herd does. So if the herd says go left, you go right. If the herd says eat potatoes, then eat apples. You know, whatever it is, complete opposite, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways,
well, when I think of you more as a leader trying to move things forward, looking for new things. And you can't do that if you want approval from everybody, permission from people. You have to strike out. I mean, we wouldn't have a country if we just did what the British told us. Those first American patriots, they really sacrificed a lot to try to just to make a country. Look at us now. Like 3 or 4 men came up with that, 5 men. They sat around, hey, let's make a country. Are you kidding me? That took a lot of courage and just forget the rules and let's try something new. Look at our Constitution. Look at what we have. It's not perfect because people aren't perfect, but you can't be a leader expecting approval and permission.
Right.
You have to be a little courageous, but what the heck?
Yeah, so I had some point in telling you all that, and I'd be goddamned if I can remember what it was. So we're just going to move on, okay? And I totally get what you're saying. Thank you for the compliments, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
So I kind of measure myself on not what I say. In fact, I encourage anybody that listens to me or does one of my courses or listens to a podcast or my videos or anything I tell them, even my students, my private coaching students, I tell them, don't believe a word I'm saying. Take what I'm telling you and go test it yourself. Because, for example, I mean, I think you and I have been together doing real estate for what, 8 years or 9 years?
Yeah, 9, getting close to 10.
Okay, and prior to working with you, I had told you I had done 4,300 in-house, nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe offers with sellers in my backyard, which was Meriden, Connecticut at the time, right? 4,300. That was 10 years ago. So I have no idea. I have no clue what it would be. It'd probably double now. So the thing that I've mentioned before that I almost say it irritates me because, well, I'll tell you why. Because when I say to somebody, you know, this question, you know, like, I don't know, whatever the question may be, like, you know, would you consider doing blah, or whatever the question may be, which, by the way, are our scripts. And 9 out of 10 people answer that question a certain way, then it's no longer me saying this is the question. It's been a battleground, street smart survey of thousands of people that answered a certain way. So what irritates me is that because of somebody's personality, they will change that question thinking it's better for them and never taking in consideration how it affected the person they're asking the questions for. And then not get a result, like I say, these are the results we get, and then they say, oh, well, I'm the asshole because he doesn't know what he's talking about because I did something. And the truth of the matter is that they didn't fully understand what that question elicits, right? So anyways, I'm going to go over this in 429. I'm way ahead of myself. We're talking about the realtor. We're talking about how the realtor makes us not valid, right? And we're talking about how what we do is the oldest thing on planet Earth as far as real estate, right? In fact, here are some very valid and not common known or legally recognized methods of achieving or transacting real estate.
Yeah.
So if 98% of America doesn't know something, could we consider it to be a secret?
Yes.
Right? Now this is becoming more and more mainstream.
Mystery. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
people
like
learning
we
about
talk,
these.
right? So it's becoming mainstream now, but it wasn't for a long time. So so we talk a lot about options, right? An option agreement. An option agreement is a 1 or 1.5 page document that allows the seller to give someone the right to buy their property, but not the obligation.
Yeah.
It is much less intrusive than a listing agreement with a realtor. But it does the same exact thing without having to have a license, because you have a minute equity share in the property and you're considered the owner legally, and it's very easy to do. Right?
That's right.
A lot don't understand that and don't do it, and there you go, right? So number 2, if we were to add a lease to an option and lengthen its time, like so the first one I was talking about, like for example, well anyways, I don't want to divert. If somebody wants all cash for a house, you could easily get a 5% discount, because that's what a realtor would get, is a 5% commission. We're not getting a commission, we're getting a discount, right? Because that's our profit. But you can get a 5% discount, like, for example, on a $400,000 house, which is an average house cost in America right now. On a $400,000 house, you would get a 20,000%, 5% of 400,000 is 20 grand. So you would sign an option agreement with a seller that says they want all cash, right? So they would net $380. Well, if they went to a realtor, they would net less than that, but if they just in their own mind just consider just 5%, which most of them think, then you would get them $380.
Yep.
Right? So if you got if you got an option agreement for $380,000 and you listed that on a bunch of websites, which we can show you in Creative REI Replay, a bunch of websites to put that on, and you listed it for $385,000, you could make yourself $5,000 just for flipping the documents. You're not flipping the house, you're just flipping the documents. Right? This allows you to explore a region or explore that house and explore how to do this without any barriers or ramifications. It allows you to like almost stand on the sidelines and see how a transaction goes without any, because you have the right to do this but not the obligation, right? So
yeah,
because
it's
you're
like when
selling
you
a house
talk about it's like when you talk about testing things, right?
Yeah.
Talk about testing. It's kind of a test because you sign an option. It's not a legal contract that says it's not a purchase and sales contract. It's not you have to buy it. It gives you the opportunity to test and see if you get the buyer, and when you do, you make the money. If you don't, you're done. It's like it's like the realtor. They do the same thing. The realtor doesn't buy the house.
I mean, it's the craziest thing in my mind, because it's like you're surveying the buyers on like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Well, so you put a house up for sale with an option agreement for a seller that wants all cash. So now you don't have to do any negotiating, no discounts, just 5%. Sign an option agreement, which is a 1.5 page agreement, and then just post it for sale. And the buyers will do all of your due diligence. The buyers will make the offers. The buyers will tell you whether it's good, bad, or different, and if there's a nuclear plant in the backyard, and if there's like aliens that fly over at night or whatever they come up with, they're going to do all the work for you. So this is what I'm talking about. See, this is a secret 98% of the people don't know, and the reason why is because they've been brainwashed that you can't do this. right?
Yeah.
I think probably one of the most powerful shifts. I'm going to go back to where I got lost before. I was telling you my story about when I was me, and the punchline. I just realized what it is. The punchline to that story was that I was in the car business for 27 years. So I was not in the car business. I fell into it. I bought a gas station. The gas station pumped 500 gallons its first month. Within a couple of years, it was pumping 130, 140,000 gallons because that's just me, right? Somebody decided to give me a car because they didn't want it anymore. I paid them $200-300 for it. I brought it in the garage at night. I fixed it myself and I put it out front and I made $1,000. Decided that I needed to go in the car business. Never knew that it was a derogatory business. Never knew it had all the taint and all that against it. And I figured it out on my own. I didn't go work for somebody or do something else. I figured it out on my own, which is the hard way to do it, right? Well, the same thing happened to me in real estate. And the thing that really catapulted me into real estate was this one thing. In the car business, when there's a lien on a car, it's on the title. And the only way to pass the title is to pay off the lien so you can pass a fresh title without the lien marked on the title. Right? Yep. It's against the rules of anybody to sell a car with a lien attached to it. Right? I mean, think about this. What a huge business it could be if you did subject to with cars. And you could do that. Like somebody wants to get rid of their car, you give them $500 and say, let me take over your loan, and now you got a car. I mean, I don't know why we don't do that, but we don't. So, and we could easily do that because we could do it with trust and everything the way we do it. I mean, it's a whole business that has never been entered upon, right? When I got into real estate...
Hey, can I ask you a quick question just because I'm curious?
No, let me finish.
No?
So,
okay, go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that the big moment for me was when I realized in real estate you don't need to wipe out the debt to pass the deed or the title. You could carry it on. And when I realized that was the big aha moment for me. See, realtors don't want you to know that because they want you, the realtor system don't want you to know that because we talk about the real estate mafia, right? And the reason why is because they want you to go get new money. The bankers behind the system strongly, they want you to go re-get new money so that they can get all their fees and all their interest and all their stuff all over again. So the problem with the realtor system is that you're constantly going to apply for new money. Instead of using the seller's money that's already invested in the property and leveraging it so that they get a ton out of it, a ton more than they're getting, right? Yep. So go ahead, you say what you want, and then we're going to move on.
Oh no, it's just a quick question. I thought if you do something with a car, you can't get the title unless it's paid off. Is there a way to do that? Because we wouldn't have the title. Like if you were to take over the payments.
I don't understand what you're saying. The physical title itself?
Yeah. I thought that was a difference. Like in a house, you can get the deed if you still owe money on it. In a car, you don't get the title until it's paid off.
Oh, well, that's
what I just said. It might not even be a good question.
Yeah, so I think I understand your question. You get the title, it's just got a lien on it. The title's printed and says there's a lien on it. You're supposed to get the title. Mm-hmm. Right? So you could get the title, it's just that you normally wouldn't pass the title. See, the thing is that a car is mobile, so it could go anywhere. Yeah. So like with a mortgage with a property title, they attach the lien and the terms of the deal and everything to the title. There's a place to register it with the city hall. Yeah. Cars, there's no place to register it, right? I mean, no place to register the title. Right? I mean, motor vehicle does not keep track of the liens and all that kind of stuff. It's just a different business, right? Mm-hmm. Which makes it even more vulnerable to doing subject to on cars.
Funny.
You know, it's such a whole, I mean, if somebody wanted to be a multi-billionaire, which I believe, just like Uber made an app, right?
Yeah.
Or Airbnb made an app, you can make an app to had people do subject twos with their cars.
Well.
All right, so now we have the option agreement. So the next thing that we want to talk about, I'm so far behind. I'm on page 2, and we're 33 minutes into the podcast. So now that we have the option agreement, and we can actually get the right to buy the property without the obligation, what we could do is we can lengthen the term, in other words, the duration of the deal, and we can actually write a lease, and the lease allows the buyer to occupy the property while they're putting their funds together or getting qualified for a mortgage.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
And the reason why the realtor system doesn't do that is because they don't want to wait 2 years for their profit, because they only think the profit, they only think the profit is in the equity, which is buy low, sell high.
Yep.
Right? Well, that's what they're pitching to their buyers and sellers. The truth of the matter is they want their 5%, and they can't wait 3 years to get their 5% because they don't know how to do it any other way. Right?
Yep.
And number 3, we obviously have the subject to real estate, which is a way to assume a loan legally without qualifying for the loan. And I know there's a lot of crap on the internet about, due on sale clauses, and people talk about all the money they lost. I'm just telling you, yeah, that's the herd talking. Okay? I've done more than I can even care to count, and if you do them correctly, they are the best. They are, out of my arsenal, the subject to deal is the most profitable. It's a way to be a millionaire quickly, a multimillionaire quickly, and it's the best deal for the seller to do. It is the best deal for the seller to do because of the paperwork and because of the way it's handled and what it does for the seller. It is the best deal for the seller, right? So number 4, we have things like agreements for deeds, which is how we get loans from sellers without the seller forfeiting the deed. So the deed stays in the seller's name. They get all the benefits of appreciation and depreciation and all the things, all the write-offs that they get. They get to keep their name, their little deed in their back pocket, and they feel safe. So basically, when you're doing an agreement for deed, you have an agreement, and when you meet all those agreements, the seller will give you the deed, right?
Yep.
The good thing about agreements for deeds, much like options, is they're transferable. So you can assign them easily with a 1-page, 2-paragraph document, right? So you could take the whole deal, put it on a subject, you could put a whole deal like a lease with an option, or with, basically the option is what's transferable. You could use an option, or you can use a land contract or an agreement for deed. They're the same thing. It just depends on what state you're in and what they call it because of the escrow companies.
Right.
Okay, the way they do escrow. Right? So the point being is it's a loan. The seller keeps the deed in their name as collateral until you pay them. Right? So number 5, obviously, there's a seller financing. Now, in Bill's world, there's 2 things when it comes to this, and I don't break it down very often, but there's owner financing and seller financing. Right? Owner financing means it's a free and clear house, and you can make any deal you want as long as the seller agrees to it.
Right.
There are no restrictions or barriers. Seller financing means that there's a mortgage involved, and you're going to finance the equity portion of the property along with the other property. A good way to think of it is like a subject to. You're taking over the person's mortgage, right? And then you're going to add equity. Take their $20,000 worth of equity and turn it into a note or a second mortgage, and you're going to make payments and do whatever you got to do. That's seller financing, right? So in seller financing, what happens, or owner financing, is you're actually passing a deed. So the seller comes to the closing table, and at the closing table, they're giving up the deed for a note from you that's collateralized by the house. So if you don't pay, they come get the house back, right? And then the last one is a wraparound mortgage, right? These are all different examples of things that can be done very legally that the realtor doesn't talk about because they don't understand them, right? This is why they're secrets, is because they're not understood correctly, right? So a wraparound mortgage allows the seller to not pay off their current loan, but wrap around that current loan their profit and sell it as a mortgage. So suppose you own a house I buy a house for $150,000 from you. You owe $100,000. So the wraparound mortgage is going to say, I have a $150,000 mortgage with you, and here's all the terms, payments, dates, all that kind of stuff. And then the very last portion of this mortgage, it's going to say, oh, by the way, in this $150,000 mortgage, we have a loan with ABC Bank for $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
But my note is going to be $150,000 to you. So you wrapped the $50,000 around the $100,000, so you could sell it to me and create owner finance or seller financing.
Yep.
Right. So it's a very specific thing. In that particular case, the deed, again, the seller passes the deed and gets the note in exchange for the deed. So they no longer own the house. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. Okay, good. I have your attention. Okay?
Paying attention.
At this point, the seller no longer owns the house. They own the note. They own the paperwork that controls the property. In creative real estate, we call it FREP or FRED. FREP is flipping real estate property, which is what realtors do. In creative real estate, we're flipping real estate documents. There's a difference. Okay? So this is why we have discrepancies between realtors and creative real estate investors. All right. So I'm going to buzz through this because we're so far behind. This allows the seller to give, any one of these allows the seller to give a finance choice to a buyer without disturbing or upsetting the existing mortgage. Any one of these can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So often loans have pre-penalty clauses, right? So like a wraparound mortgage or any one of these, they have, suppose you have a mortgage that has a pre-penalty clause that can blow up a deal or the profit, right? Because it would be like, well, I can do owner financing, but, you know, or a realtor will say, okay, I can sell the property. And then they find out, I have a pre-penalty clause and I don't have enough money at the closing to pay for it. Right? So any one of these things could handle that. That's a good example of why people would do some of this stuff, right?
Sure.
All right. So now here's the point I would like listeners to settle on in their minds right now, right? None of these transaction types are clandestine, covert, underhanded, or illegal, regardless of what the internet says. Okay? And regardless of all the stories that they tell you about how they lost all money, they had it misunderstood, and they are doing it. I mean, I had an ex-Creative REI Replay student tell me that he lost $20,000 in a slot deal. But then when I dug into it, and a slot deal is a sandwich lease option transfer, when I dug into it, he was trying to make $100 a month, and he changed the paperwork. So he didn't do a slot deal. He did a version of the slot deal. Right?
Yep.
So these ideas are not clandestine, covert, underhanded, or illegal. They're only hidden from 98% of America because the realtors and banks want to keep their methods in play so that their millions or tens of millions, I think it's more like billions, keep filling their pockets. Right?
Yep.
And again, as your own fact checker, look at how much real estate has changed since 2020 when COVID shut down the country.
Oh, yeah.
right? And the realtor system snapped because they could only only show houses virtually, and they don't know how to do that, right? So they had a decline in listing agreements because people didn't want potential COVID carriers to be in their house and give them COVID. Now we're talking about in the early stages when there was hundreds of thousands of people dying from this disease or this virus that we didn't know about, right?
That's right.
Truth is, real estate kept going. It happened without them, without the realtors, right? Make sense?
Oh, yeah. No, things have changed a lot. I see ads on Facebook now that Zillow is trying to replace realtors. Zillow.
Yeah.
They're trying to get in between and take over.
Yep.
I'm just starting to see that.
Okay. Enough of that. And my next piece of information that is not generally known by most investors, but should be the first lesson to every person wanting income from real estate. And you said it before. Mm-hmm. Test first, invest second.
Mm. Yep. Why not? I mean,
in other words, test first, don't invest first. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, don't make any big commitments that can get you in trouble. When you use an option, you have a few dollars down to make it legal because you have a little equity share in the house. That's your commitment. That's a test. You have to go through the procedure and see how it works and make sure it works. And if the numbers are all off, change them, fix them, or walk away. But mostly fix it, adjust it, because the buyers will tell you.
Yep. So this idea, this one idea can change your life, right? And I'm going to tell you, this is the demise. This is they say when you go into business, small business, the percentage of people don't survive the first year. You ever heard that statistic? There's some crazy statistic about that, right?
I'm back.
Okay, good. So you ever hear the statistic? You ever hear the statistic of like businesses don't survive the first year?
Yeah,
the percentages
majority,
of businesses don't. Yeah, and the reason why is because of this simple one idea, right? Which is test first, invest second.
Yeah.
They didn't test their product or their idea to the person that's going to pay them, which is their buyers, right?
Yep.
So this one idea reminds me of a quote, which I've said before, right? The horse which wins by a nose earns 10 times the prize money and respect of second place. Right?
Yep. Be the nose.
Right. So here's why this is so important, and it's considered a whole new level of closeness that will help keep our relationship strong once I reveal these obvious hidden gems. Right?
Yeah.
Nelson Rockefeller once said, are we still there?
Yeah.
This is driving me crazy today. It keeps knocking me off of my stool here because I keep thinking I'm losing. I don't know what's going on with my internet here. Obviously, there's something wrong. Yeah. Nelson Rockefeller once said, the secret to wealth is to own nothing but control everything. So I say that all the time, but let me summarize. Right? Test, don't invest. Horses in first place, not second place, and own nothing but control everything comes down to this single underground philosophy that is not revealed publicly too often, and definitely not thought of in school or taught in school. You need to be smart enough to protect your assets, little or a lot, by avoiding any transparencies and of ownership and tax liabilities. I could turn this whole podcast into probably 100 podcasts, just one series of 100 all by itself, talking about the hidden profits in a deal that none of us realize until after we get a portfolio and we start doing taxes. Just taxes alone is a whole subject all by itself in real estate.
Yep.
It's just incredible, the advantages. Why do you think all the wealthiest people on planet Earth or in America own real estate? I've read about people that buy real estate just to, people like, why would he buy that? He's losing money. Well, yeah, because he's making so much money somewhere else. He needs that, right? $4,000 he's losing on that property is going to give him back $40,000 in tax benefits, probably, or whatever it is, right? Now, if you're trying to own nothing and control everything, right? In order to get away with something or beat the tax man, you're going to have a harder time of it. And nowadays, it's different than back when Rockefeller spoke of it. So I'm not speaking to the people that are listening right now about beating the tax man. It's not about that at all, right? Although it is a pleasant little side effect, right? Because it's like, why would I want to have 48% capital gains tax when just recently it was 21%, right?
Yeah.
What does that get me? I don't get it. Do I get better roads? Do I get better status? Do I get a bigger house? Do I get cheaper food? Do I get a VIP card for buying gas and reduce my gas prices by $1? No, that's the point. I have to work harder to pay more taxes and get nothing for it, right? Mm-hmm. However, if you look at the word flipping as a quick period of time, so flipping means it's in a short period of time. The duration is not very long.
Right.
Right? And you'll begin to wonder or realize what you can flip and what you can't flip. Right? Which brings me back to my starting statement, which is test first, don't invest first. Or test first and invest second. Right? See, when you're flipping property like the fix and flip game that TV makes look so sexy, you are responsible for the mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, any liabilities, lawsuits, or anything that ensue along the way. Right?
That's right.
In other words, this is a very expensive test to see if you can work, or more important, if you can do it. Right? So why would I want to go put my name on a mortgage that's $200,000 and have to come up with $40,000 worth of repairs and have to go to the house every day and make sure the taxes are paid and the insurance is paid and everything's in line, so I can make $20,000 or $30,000 over 8 months. Right?
That's a lot.
Did you want to say something?
No, I said that's a lot.
Oh, that's a lot. I got it. Okay.
It's a lot to do.
Yeah. Okay, so imagine this. What if you could invest in the mortgage note, right? Instead of the house, like we talked about earlier. Doesn't this mean you no longer have to deal with the property? Right? You're only responsible for collecting payments, right? But the downside of investing in mortgage notes and not investing in the property is you need to have a lot of capital to buy mortgages.
Oh, if you're actually going to buy them, sure.
Right? So one way you're buying the property and you're investing the money in the property. The other way is, okay, well, I don't want to invest in the property and have all that responsibility. how about if I just buy notes, and then I can just control the notes and just worry about collecting the payments? But then you have to have the money to buy the notes.
Right, an actual outright purchase, yeah.
Yeah, unless you take the middle road, right, which is not doing either, owning the property and having the capital to invest in the notes. Right? Here's what I mean. When you talk to a seller, they already have the money invested in the deal. Either they have their own cash or they have loans. Right? So the question you have to ask yourself is, why should I replace the money in the deal? What's the seller going to get? What benefit is the seller going to get by replacing the money in the deal? Right? Why not leverage it so the seller gets more than he would get if he replaces the money?
That's right.
The current loan. Right? Where all the headaches the lenders impose, do it on a faster timeline. I mean, I'm refinancing a property right now, and I've been working on it for 2.5 months, and I've had a fake closing for 2 weeks now.
What's a fake closing?
Oh, they tell me we're going to close, and then we don't because they need more documents.
Oh, jeez.
Right?
Yay.
I mean, now the interesting thing is I could buy and sell the piece of property and make $50,000, and I got to pay capital gains on that.
Yes.
Right. Not only do I got to pay capital gains on it, but if I do it within 12 months, I have to pay a higher rate for my income.
That's right.
So I have income tax. It's then sustainable, and this is what I'm talking about the taxes. It's sustainable to my unemployment tax. Right? So now that it's income, I have to pay Social Security, federal taxes, my EI, all that stuff.
Wow.
So not only did I pay capital gains tax, but then I got to pay unemployment tax. I got to pay all my Social Security stuff on it. It rounds out to damn near close to 40%.
Yep.
Now watch this. I have a piece of property that I'm refinancing right now. Now if I made $50,000, right? Let me do the numbers. We don't have time for this, but I'm going to do it anyways. So 50,000. We'll say times 60%, which is how much I'm going to get, right? That's $30,000. So I'm going to give away $20,000. I should have done that in my head. Right. So if I'm going to go through all the rehab and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to make $50,000, at the end of the day, I only get to keep 30 of it.
Right. You got to about 40%. Is that $20,000 that's gone?
Yeah.
After all that work.
Now I have a piece of property that I'm refinancing, and I'm taking $50,000 out of it, and I don't have any tax on it. $50,000.
Oh, you keep it all.
Say it again.
You keep all of it, and there's no taxes.
None of that happens. So I just, by doing it this way, I just made $20,000 by being clever and doing the things we're talking about. I mean, I'm not here talking shit to everybody just so I look smart, because I don't feel that way. Mm-hmm. This is real stuff. This is like important information. If you want to be wealthy, or if you want to live your lifestyle the way you want to live, you need to know these things, right? This is important to understand.
Yep.
Why do you think that the elite are the elite? Because they teach their kids this stuff, but that's it. Right?
Well, they spend the effort on learning how to do it and go through some extra steps instead of taking the shortcut and just taking the easy, quick, fast way, and you lose money.
People too often. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you because my I could barely hear you. So the important thing that I'm trying to say here is that most people think of money as cash, and money is much more than that.
Oh,
right. So here's my secret keeper: you should not take for granted when trying to increase income and wealth that you skip the testing stage and go right into the investing stage.
Mm. Yep.
I mean, if you want to learn the stock market, one of the things they teach you is, what you do is you paper invest. What do you mean paper invest? Oh, you go on the stock market and you write down all your numbers and you keep a little log of what you would have done but never used the money to do it, and then you check your numbers tomorrow to see, I would have made or I would have lost. I'm glad I didn't invest, or I wish I did invest. It's like they're testing the market. So they're testing. What you're really testing is you're really testing your ability to understand how to do it.
Yeah.
It's like a doctor says, I have a practice, right? Or a lawyer says, I have a practice, right? It's because they're constantly practicing, right? So when either starting out or going into a new market, right, you need to do this. I'm gonna end off with these today. There's 5 of them, and I'm gonna kind of buzz right through them. So, number 1. So if you're starting out or you're in a new market, this is like the little mini blueprint.
Yep.
So number 1, only do option deals. Don't do any other kind of deals. So you could do like a sandwich lease option transfer, a slot deal, right? You could do just an option and sell for all cash like I talked about earlier. You could do options with leases, with sellers and buyers, right? Only do those deals because those are testing type deals. Number 2, do not lock into deals with deeds for any long-term period or responsibility. Now, it's okay to wholesale something, but you're not getting the deed in your name. You're going to wholesale the purchase and sales agreement, or you're going to wholesale the option, or you're going to wholesale a contract for deed, right? But you're not going to get it in your name. You're going to get it in your name, but you're not going to close, right? Number 3, only control the documents that control the property. Don't try to control the property. Right? So going back to the FRED and FREP, right? So FRED is flipping real estate documents. FREP is flipping real estate property. So you want to do the FRED deals, right? Number 4, when looking at profits with money now, money monthly, and money later, when you're testing, only do money now deals. Okay? Don't try to get involved with money monthly and money later until you've tested and you're ready to start investing. That's the difference between testing and investing. Testing is you're not worried about your profits when you're testing. If you make $1,000 to do a transaction for flipping some documents, do it, because you're going to get paid a whole lot more by understanding your buyers and your sellers and your territory and everything that's involved in that deal and around that deal. Getting a buyer's list and meeting other people, other realtors, other people, boots on the ground type stuff. That's much more valuable to you than try to make a home run on the deal. Right? So in the beginning, you're just going to do money now. So the difference between testing and investing is testing, you do money now. Investing, you're doing money now, money monthly, and money later on the deals. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're staying in them.
Yeah, and if you're in a new area and you're going to be there for 2-3 years, you might not know what's going to happen, and something not too good could happen in that time. So find out how things work in that area before you commit to stick around.
Right. So number 5, I just told you, which is the amount of money you make in a deal is irrelevant. It's more important for you to understand your market and understand what buyers want, because realize at the end of the day, the buyers are paying everyone. They're paying you your profit. They're paying the seller. They're paying all the obligations you made to your seller. So you have to study your buyers. Your buyers are more important than your sellers. Because if you can get consignment deals like we talked about earlier, like you're gonna get the seller to give you a 5% discount and just get an option agreement and just go find your buyer. That's like getting it on consignment. I mean, after all, that's what realtors do. They sign a listing agreement, they get the house on consignment, and they go find a buyer and they make their money. Right?
That's right.
The point of testing is to learn and understand what your buyer needs and wants. Right? To learn and understand the area, to find contacts that can help you. Right? to learn and understand local laws and how closings work, right? And the lay of the land. That's it. That's all testing does. Once you have all that figured out, you can now start to invest in the money now, money monthly, money later. So when you're testing, you're investing in yourself and your knowledge, and you're getting that understanding that I rattled on for the first 20 minutes of this podcast. Like, is it now a secret? Is it a secret to you anymore? Right? It's not, because you work through the understanding. You work through the physical, in front of you, things that happen, like the real live things that happen. It's not theory anymore. It's experience.
Yep.
Right? So, like I said, it's important that you figure out, this is the biggest secret on the planet as far as in real estate, the biggest secret in real estate that nobody talks about. It's the craziest thing in the world, is how do you get real estate on consignment? And all you need to do is look at the biggest agency in the world that gets the most amount of real estate on consignment, which is the realtor system. They've been doing it for 75 years, right? So that's like right under our nose. Why do creative real estate investors go off and wonder what the secret is? Well, the secret is revealed to you if you just, and it took me 30 years to figure this out. The secret's revealed to you like right under your nose because the realtor does it every single day, right? Now, the difference is a realtor needs a license because they don't use an option agreement, and I don't understand why they do it this way. It doesn't make sense to me, right? They get their listing agreement, right, that does not have a realtor hooked to the property until the realtor finds the buyer, right? So they get a listing agreement and nothing happens until the buyer comes along and say, I'll do this. And then the realtor lists down all the things the buyer's willing to do. He brings it back to the seller. The seller says yes, no, or readjusts it. We could do the same exact thing with our option agreements, can't we? We don't need to have a special license, do we?
No, it's funny. Over these last few years, we've been comparing more and more what we do with realtors, but with all the advantages of all the other types of deals we can do if that helps the seller. So we're way ahead in that regard. And we don't have Zillow trying to take over our jobs.
Well, it would amaze most rookies to realize that money is not the number one problem in any real estate transaction. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are greedy people that just want the money, but money is further down the scale.
Yeah.
It's usually things like, transfers and divorces, and it's like life gets in the way and the house is no longer needed, and they just can't just say, it's not like, oh, I no longer want my car, and just leave it, here you go, grandchild, here's my car, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like that, it's not like you could just dump it that quick, right? All right, so this is how you got to be smart. This is how you protect your assets. This is how you do what Nelson Rockefeller says, right? Avoid the downsides of the problems that could cost you a lifetime of financial stress, right? You don't own the property, you control it. You test first, right? Use America's legal system to make you rich. Why not? It's already there, right? By just using the right documents, right? So my little saying here is use America's legal system to make you rich, not America's real estate system.
Now I see why you might want to play the national anthem.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. So don't put yourself on record at the city hall with a property until you have tested and you're sure you can make money, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're more commonly known as having surveyed the area or the people, and you know what's going to happen, and you know what they want, right? It's marketing 101. How do you make a lot of money? Well, you make a lot of money by delivering a valuable final product, which is a product that's, like a bottle of water that's a bottle of water. It's ready to be sold. So how do you make a lot of money with a bottle of water? Well, you go to the desert in the middle of a concert where there's 20,000 people listening to their rock station and nobody brought water with them. So now your bottle of water is worth $10 a bottle because everybody's in the middle of the desert. It's 120 degrees and they're thirsty.
Yep.
AKA, you got a starving crowd. That's a little bit of an embellishment, but that's what you got to do. Right? Yeah. So when we're selling real estate the way we're talking about and offering lease with options to our buyers, and they can't qualify for a loan, and they only need 5% down, and they can swing that, and the mortgage payment's not much different than what they could pay if they have the income to sustain the mortgage payment. It's kind of like selling water in a 120-degree desert where there's a concert of 20,000 people. You're going to have plenty of prospects if you do the deals right. Okay, Peter, that's enough for today. Thank you. Sorry about the internet stuff, and sorry about me stumbling and reading through things and all that kind of stuff today. I kind of had my attention kept getting snagged away because of the internet. But anyways, we're all done. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like us. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you're watching us. Make sure you leave a review. And make sure you stay tuned because we will stop broadcasting this, I think, in a few episodes. Well, maybe 5 or 10 episodes down the road. And we're going to go over onto a private platform and completely change the podcast. You think you're getting a lot of information now? Oh, baby. Wait till you get it the other way. All right. Flourish and prosper. Oh, don't forget to go into the link if you can. If you're not driving or entertaining yourself some other way, go into the description, and there's a description of this podcast, and there is a link there that will give you some really cool stuff. All right? Over and out. Talk to you next week.
This has been Flipping Houses for Rookies. The American Dream. What is it? It's called financial freedom, and with real estate, you'll have it. Without the banks, without the bigwigs, and without the realtors' nonsense. Bill and Pete are two real estate investors with 30 years plus of experience, hundreds of deals under their belts, and a mission to change the way you think about creative real estate. Do be sure to like, rate, and review the show. And after that, hit up our YouTube channel at Flipping Houses for Rookies /streams. We'll be back soon, and see you then on Flipping Houses for Rookies.